I'm currently reading the biography of Dave Grohl. He is from Foo Fighters and he used to be on Nirvana, you know that. But the thing is that I am in the part where he's sharing about when he was joining Nirvana and things like that, and apparently they have a really close, not that close, but they have a very influential relationship with Sonic Youth. Then I remember that Sonic Youth is releasing new music today, and because of that I asked Luana, the girl who works with me writing some of my videos, if she could bring a story about Sonic Youth that would be really interesting for this channel. She did find some stuff, but this one right here caught my attention and I need to share with you. Listen, 1992 can be considered the year when it comes to grunge, right? Because it was the year that Nirvana's Nevermind reached #1 on Billboard Hot 100, along with the success of some bands like Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, for example. It was also the year that Marc Jacobs presented his grunge collection, so stores and magazines were promoting the grunge aesthetics and vibes. Everyone around wanted a piece of the grunge hype, including the New York Times. In November 1992, the newspaper produced and published a whole report on the grunge scene, including a list of words that were considered the grunge speak. What they didn't know though is that everything was actually a big prank. And then the story just went downhill, and we're gonna talk about this today. So if you already liked the video and got subscribed, we're ready to go. The word grunge originally meant grime or dirt and became sort of an umbrella term to describe not just the Pacific Northwest alternative rock scene on the early 90s, but also a fashion style and lifestyle. As the term gained popularity across the country and the world, it was gradually rejected and dismissed by the Seattle music scene. Rolling Stone even called Seattle the new Liverpool. So more and more reporters start going to Seattle to investigate those bands, but they weren't actually paying attention to any of the music out there. So as they were going to Seattle and not really seeing what was going on, they always start becoming more and more skeptical about the media. In the 2011 book, Everybody Loves Our Town, former Sub Pop publicist Jenny Body said every local paper would call up like they had some unique idea. Oh, I want to do a story on this hot topic, the Seattle scene. I would tell them not to, that's been done too much already. What a great publicist. Nobody wanted to talk about it anymore. That was before Pearl Jam hit and it was already tiresome. Sub Pop, in case you don't know, is the record label that helped launching this grunge movement by signing bands like Nirvana, Mudhoney, and Soundgarden, for example. It's my favorite record label as well. I know, who has a favorite record label? That's fucked up. So, when this New York Times reporter called the Sub Pop co-founder to talk about the grunge movement, he was actually redirected to Megan Jasper, who had been recently laid off from the label where she worked as a receptionist. So Poneman, the co-founder of Sub Pop, he told Jasper that, I knew you would have fun with this. Jasper was only 25 and was working as a sales representative for Caroline Records out of her apartment at the time. She was sitting at her desk after drinking almost a whole pot of coffee when Martin called her. He explained that he was working on a story for the New York Times style section about grunge culture. Okay, so far so good. And that he also wanted to include a list of a grunge lexicon to go with the article. And Jasper naturally found the idea very funny because he was just assuming something that didn't exist. And worse, it wasn't the first time that someone asked her something like that, because earlier that year she had been contacted by the British magazine Sky also to provide a list of grunge slang. She told The Ring in 2017, I just gave them a bunch of fake shit. The fake list she gave Sky reportedly appeared in a 4-page article in the magazine under the headline, Like Harsh Round Men, How to Sling Out in Seattle. The article caught the attention of Mudhoney while they were touring the UK, and they used some of the terms as a joke in an interview with the British magazine Melody Maker. But anyways, to him, Jasper actually provided a more extensive word list, and she first started off with some words that would be a little bit more believable, like lame stand for when someone is an uncool person, and rock on for a happy goodbye. Can you, no, seriously though, I feel bad for him, but like, can you actually think about like grunge bands talking to each other like rock on? She was inspired that day, so she went on and gave him even more ridiculous expressions like cop nobbler for when someone is a loser, and the absolutely iconic swinging on the flippity flop that should be used for when you want to say that you're hanging out. I cannot, if this was our slang nowadays, I would be fucked because I cannot pronounce that. Swinging on the flippity flop. Ah! I got it. She said that the list was so outrageous that she was 100% sure that the reporter would notice that it was a joke and they would laugh about it. But as they spoke, she could hear him typing on the other side of the call, so he actually believed every single thing that she said. Okay, after the interview, Jasper called Poneman. She told him what happened and they all laughed about it and she moved on with her life. Fine. But on November 15, her mother called her to say that she just saw her on the freaking New York Times. Jasper was completely shocked. She walked to the closest convenience store to buy a newspaper copy and she saw the headline, "Grunge, a success story." Next to the article, there was a sidebar titled "Lexicon of Grunge, Breaking the Code," introducing her full list of made-up terms. All subcultures speaking code. Grunge is no exception. Megan Jasper, a 25-year-old sales representative at Caroline Records in Seattle, provided this lexicon of grunge speak, coming soon to a high school or mall near you. Jasper told The Ringer, "It was truly unbelievable. You just look at that shit and there's no way people talk like that. Maybe if you were a cartoon character, you could talk like that, but humans don't talk like that." And like, we feel bad that maybe if the reporter had actually traveled to Seattle to investigate as he was supposed to, maybe he would have noticed that no one was talking like that. But it gets better, because a bit later, Jasper went to a show in Seattle and she saw some people ironically wearing a clip of the grunge list on their t-shirts. The former bassist of Skin-Yard, Daniel House, ran the indie label CZ Records at the time and found the prank so funny that he printed lexicon of grunge t-shirts. Graphic designer Art Chandry, known for his iconic concert posters and album arts, came up with the shirt design. They sold hundreds of shirts, which came in two versions. Both versions featured the word list on the back along with the CZ logo, with one saying "Lemon Stain" on the front and the other "Harsh Rum." According to Chantry, after the lexicon exploded, people who were not part of the scene actually started to use the fake words. He told The Ringer, "Before too long you heard wannabe grunge rockers copycat walking down the streets of Seattle actually saying things like swinging on the flippity-flop out loud, thinking they were using real slang that made them cool." So the New York Times reporter called the baffler to ask who was actually the hoaxer. In response, the magazine sent a note backing up its reporting that said, "When the newspaper of record goes searching for the next big thing and the next big thing piddles on its legs, we think that's funny." Rick Martin, the reporter who wrote the New York Times story, now works as a television writer, including for Law and Order, according to EMDB. Penelope Green, the editor in charge of the story at the time, she works at the Times as an obituaries reporter. As for Megan Jasper, or iconic queen who made up this story, she went back to Sub Pop in 1998 and she worked as a senior product manager, executive vice president, and now she's a CEO. She continues to give some interviews on the topic, and she also says that she supports some light jokes in the office. It's important for us to point out that if things were nowadays, it would be pretty serious, not only because everything would spread away faster because of internet, but also because of how bad fake news are nowadays. But back in the 90s, and you know, giving the context of what it is, we just think it's pretty funny and it fits grunge so well. We started the video talking about Sonic Youth, right? So we're gonna finish the video talking about Sonic Youth as well. In a 2004 piece for the Times on the 10th anniversary of Kurt Cobain's death, Thorsten Moore from Sonic Youth recalled the hoax, saying, "Remarkably, the news media rang with the mock of lexicon of grunge culture to our disbelief and delight." And that's it. I hope you liked the video. I love this story. I would never know if it wasn't for Luana, so shout out for her. She's an amazing journalist who actually investigates the things that she needs to talk about. Look at you, throwing shade on the reporter. Now I feel bad. Like the video. That's it. I hope you liked the video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't, you are a lemon. Bye.